Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So today we have another round of VTuber drama to cover. This time we have a VTuber named Trua who is being canceled. And I don't know what it is with aquatic themed VTubers, but they always seem like they're in trouble. But nonetheless, this is another one of those VTubers who are self-described as anti-drama, always saying how much they hate drama. They remind you every single day how much they just hate drama. And even a few days ago, they ironically made this retweet where the message is basically saying drama coverage channels like myself are a bad thing and are terrible for the VTubing scene, which, as I always say, VTubers who hate people who cover drama and bad things happening in the VTuber scene, they do so because they likely have something to hide, which is exactly the case with Trua. So 2 days ago, this artist came forward and shared a long thread that detailed their experience with Trua as a client as they made a VTuber model for them. This goes a lot of ways, and we're going to get into the details shortly, but to sum it up, basically some snags come along because Trua doesn't understand some of the TOS that she didn't read, and it eventually leads to her getting upset and demanding a refund before the deadline ever arrives for the VTuber model, and threatens to get a refund through PayPal and threatens the security of the artist's PayPal account, and also goes as far as to basically demand that this artist continues making not only the artwork that was supposed to be paid for, but additional free artwork to prevent Trua from going public and canceling this artist. Yes, many people consider that extortion, by the way. But let's start with Trua, okay? Let's start where it all began here. Trua is a VTuber relatively active on Twitch, but we're going to focus on her Twitter account because you can see down here she has nearly 60,000 followers, and throughout the timeline of events from this story, she had over 50,000, which is a big number on Twitter, okay? A lot of influence. So she made this tweet on the 21st, 2 days ago, saying, all right, I'm going to out someone because I rarely do this, but I want you to be aware of how you handle your money within the community. Back in January of 2023, after my birthday celebration in December, I finally had enough money to pay for my model. And of course, this thread would go on to basically say she was scammed by an artist who was making her VTuber model, and this tweet and the rest of the thread would be deleted. Now, unlike Trua's thread trying to cancel this artist, the artist in question would come forward with a long thread full of receipts of every single thing that they're claiming in this thread. And this included a link to a video where the artist screen recorded every single conversation they had in private with Trua. They essentially left absolutely no room for doubt whenever they're saying certain things about conversations that happened between this artist and Trua. So what happened here was they started working together in January. Around February, they made their first initial sketches of the character for the VTuber model, and at the time, Trua paid $400. Now, the entire VTuber model and the related expressions, I believe 4 expressions were included with the model. The total price was around $2,000. So she did not pay the full price up front, which is fine. It is something that is allowed. It's just something that will not get you prioritized. So in the artist TOS, and as they reminded them in DMs at the time back in February, if you don't pay the entire price of the art up front, aka the $2,000, you are not a priority as a client. You will still get your artwork done within the deadline, but you're not going to be a priority over other clients who have paid all of their costs up front. That is a very normal policy, by the way. But shortly after that, we would see tweets like this, now deleted of course from Trua, talking about how they paid $2,000 for a model back in January, which of course we know that's not true. They did not pay the $2,000 until later. So this artist is saying that, well, at the time, they only paid $400, but they're going onto Twitter and places and making these cryptic subtweets saying that they got ripped off from this artist that they paid fully up front, which, like I said, is a lie. However, in March, about a month later, they did pay the rest of the remaining balance on that $2,000, so now it's paid in full. However, there would start to be issues where Trua was starting to ask for a refund and didn't like how the process was going, despite the fact that we're not even 3 months in. And as stated by the artist, this VTuber model takes roughly 3 to 6 months to complete, with the 6-month timeline being the deadline. And speaking as someone who has gone through the process of getting a Vtuber model, obviously, I know that that timeline is very fair. That's about how long it takes to both create and rig a Vtuber model. However, in June, a month later, the artist would find out that Trua was attempting to get a refund through PayPal for the price of roughly, I believe it was $1,700. And what they're doing is they're going to PayPal and explaining their situation and attempting to get a refund, where PayPal would give an ultimatum of 20 days basically to resolve this matter before a refund might be initiated, or the artist's account might be in trouble. It might be taken down because this would be considered a scam, even though the deadline has not reached. In fact, at this point, it was 2 months away. And you can see right here, this is straight from the YouTube video. This is one of the DMs sent from Trua. A lot of people are not showing these actual DMs. They are insane. They're like smoking guns, showing how demanding and outrageous this Trua person is. So here they are making their demand, saying you have 20 days to solve this whole matter, and I want the refund of the entirety of the $1,720, or they will escalate this matter. Which, escalating this matter when talking about PayPal, obviously there's either some threat of taking down their PayPal or attempting to, or doing something else, which we would find out would be this right here. So after the whole PayPal couple of comments here, they say this: if you choose not to, as in follow with their wishes here by giving a refund, Trua will go public with this, which is quite the threat, because at the time Trua had over 50,000 followers on Twitter, and the artist at the time had only 3,000. I think you understand how this situation's gonna go. Trua would likely go out there and just completely and utterly run over this artist, and luckily that's not what happened, but going forward, this would change things, okay? So the artist is obviously scared. You can see by their comments, they were very threatened, because not only are they being, having a hard time with a client, this client is threatening their career with exposure, even though they didn't do anything wrong. But out of fear for their own accounts and their livelihood, this is their job, by the way, they agreed to several, basically, parameters, some demands that Trua had made. And remember, the initial project, or the initial commission that Trua had made was for a Vtuber model with 4 expressions, okay? After making an agreement with Trua was saying that they would not go public with this whole story and cancel the artist if they made the base outfit, as paid for, an outfit, 16 expressions, so 16 total instead of just the 4, another model, this time a naked model, and an illustration in 3 months. And to make this clear, the artist is not slacking. They would comply with this, not to mention the fact they were already working on these things as they were supposed to, but after these demands were made by Trua, they delivered all of these things that I just listed in 3 months. Okay, they prioritized Trua and giving her free extra, not only illustrations, models, and expressions. She prioritized all that free stuff over other clients, which also has an opportunity cost that I don't think they bring up. There is a big opportunity lost here, because they could have spent that time working with other clients who are paying this artist for their time and effort. And of course, when this whole thing was going down, we have receipts, so these are not exaggerations. Some people are basically trying to say that Trua never said these things. It's right here, right in the YouTube video. Find the related message in here, the related section of the video. It's all right here. This is a smoking gun. It looks terrible. You can pause and read the whole thing for yourself. They sound like a bully. Okay, they're saying things like, I have enough empathy to allow you to go forward. I won't cancel you. You just have to give me number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Basically, yeah, bullying them, and what many would consider, by the way, extortion. Okay, I'm not a lawyer here. I'm not some law enforcement professional, but what they're doing sounds a lot like extortion to some people. You're basically threatening to do something or to go public with something, and at the cost of them doing something for you. Like, what else does that sound like? Now, going forward, they lied. So back here, I'll go back for a second. They said that they're not going to go public, okay? I have enough empathy that I will not go public because I still care about you. That was a lie. They did, in a sense, go public. They made tweets and various messages across social media platforms saying that they're getting ripped off by an artist that they're working with. And some other artists would reach out and ask Trua, well, who is it? And now, of course, this artist would want their identity to be concealed. But they had this conversation in DMs with Trua right here where they asked, well, who's scamming you? And they flat out said the artist in question, who we're talking about today. So they were already slandering this artist in other people's DMs all the way back in June. Mind you, this whole thing started really in February, and the deadline was months away, and they're already slandering this artist who had done nothing wrong at this point. Well, moving forward, the greed doesn't stop. So here is one of the illustrations that was provided as a term of their agreement to not basically cancel this artist. The illustration comes out, and Trua basically makes the demand of having free commercial rights for this illustration. Now, let me explain this to people who aren't familiar with this stuff. When it comes to artwork, as a content creator, let's say I want to get a new poster featuring artwork of my Vtuber model. So I commission an artist. Let's say I give them $100 to make artwork. Okay, great. I want to make posters out of it and sell those for a profit. Well, now I have to get commercial rights from the artist to do that, to make merch out of their artwork. And that's a very common thing. And a lot of times it's pretty expensive because, you know, you're making a lot of money off of the artist who initially provided something just for your own personal use. Now you want to make money out of it. So on a $100 commission piece of art, the commercial rights might be $40, $50 because you might make hundreds, if not thousands, off of that artwork selling it as merch. And in this case, she wanted that for free on something she had already gotten for free because of threats she made to cancel this artist. Yeah, it's that bad. And also, the way she did it is very snaky, very weaselly the way she did this. She asked after it was already done if she could get commercial rights, which is a big red flag. And that's not just in this case, but in general, because when you want commercial rights, that also changes how the artist does their work. Okay, I'm not an artist myself, but from what I understand, when you ask for commercial rights, that changes how you render things and how you size things so that it won't look wonky when it's transferred over to something like a poster or a sticker. But yeah, that's just the beginning of the greed. It seems like it never ends. And of course, we haven't even talked about the second phase of making a model, and that is the rigging of the Vtuber model. So in this case, like many others, the artist who made the Vtuber model is not a person who rigs the model. So let me explain how that works. So in the creation of a Vtuber model, there's really two big phases. Phase one is creating the art of the Vtuber model. So, you know, what you're looking at here, the design, the outfit, all those things. But the second part is where the arts, the Vtuber model, is rigged. So you see the emotions I'm doing, the movement, all that stuff. That is typically done by someone else. There's some artists who do both parts, but most of the time it's different skill sets. So you have the initial artist and then they pass it on to someone who will rig the model separately. And here's the problem with that situation, because now we have multiple free models that were provided to Trua, who now Trua wants to be rigged by the original person who is going to rig the original model. So now we're dealing with 3 models instead of 1 and 16 facial expressions instead of 4. That comes with a huge cost. In fact, I'm pretty sure, based on my own experience, that would be thousands of dollars worth of work for the person rigging that model, okay? And Trua wanted that for free as well. She was so greedy that she wanted this third party who had nothing to do with anything to give her thousands of dollars of free work on art that she basically bullied out of this person right here. That's the absolute insanity of this whole situation. And, you know, not to beat this to death, but like, Trua doesn't understand a lot of things. And like, I'm a crusty old boomer, okay? I don't understand a lot of things when it comes to technology and artwork and like the finer points of all these things. But even I look at this and realize, like, girl, you can't put a live 2D model in a PDF. Like, what is going on? But moving on from that, eventually the other day, it would finally come into motion where the person rigging the model would start working with Trua, who would then reach out to, or this artist would reach out to the person rigging the model and say, is she paying for the extra parts? Where of course she was not. And then she would confront or Trua would confront the artist, the original artist, and basically say that she has no right to any of this business, and then she blocked her, the original artist. And then here we are at the end, where basically this artist has now been basically taken advantage of in many different ways and then blocked and pretty much thrown to the side, where then of course Trua would make her public post attempting to cancel this artist, and it's a whole thing. So you're probably wondering, well, what was Trua doing during all this stuff? Well, at many different points, she made tweets coming off of the release of the thread from the artist, trying to soften the blow, but also brush off everything. So she's saying things like, oh, well, maybe I'm a little bit at fault here. Maybe I did some things wrong, but my gosh, I'm just showing the community what I was going through at the time and why the model I promised was taking so long. I'm not trying to cancel. I was just trying to explain to my community what's going on. I need to give them updates. And then she says here, I will say I'm disheartened by the attacks to the artist. You're in my community. We don't tolerate harassment of any kind, and this reflects social media as well. I regret to inform you, Trua, your likes are public, okay? Your likes are filled with people harassing the artist, people who are a part of your community, and I know for a fact this person in particular, you know, is in your community. You have responded to them and told them to stop speaking on your behalf, but here they are in your likes harassing the artist on their thread about you. But you don't condone this stuff? It's right here. Like, what do you mean? But going forward, another thing they would do after they would make like a little, rant about the situation, often deleting it, they would then do this whole like, I don't care, basically trying to do the battle of who cares less here, basically saying stuff like this. Now back to your regularly scheduled shit posting and try to act like nothing's happening. Yeah, this is always a terrible tactic. It makes you look petty. But eventually, when the heat got hot enough, and it did, a lot of people were coming after Trua, they would forfeit and they would apologize to the artist in private. And of course, the artist would share this private apology publicly because this whole situation was made public by Trua in the first place. And then we get the apology arc, a whole lot of noise and a whole lot of sorries, but not a single one of them feels genuine in any sort of a way. And then we got this absolute banger, dude. This, black screen audio where it was very clear that Trua was reading from a script the whole time. And at one point said that she would be resigning from Twitter like she's some, political figure. It's just embarrassing. And the thing I want to point out, you can pause and look at this and read the whole thing for yourself. I just can't. I'm losing brain cells at this point. But basically, Trua went onto her Discord server in the aftermath of all these things and made a long-winded statement basically saying that she's taking time off from Twitter and she's going to avoid using Twitter to avoid trolls and things like that. And she's going to basically just be doing business as usual on all of her other platforms and acting like nothing happened. So that, to me, convinces me that she has not learned anything from this situation and she is trying to take advantage of people's forgiveness and their inability to remember anything, because I know how these situations go. Okay, she's going to stop tweeting for a couple of weeks, and then she's going to come back, and largely everyone's going to forget what happened. And, as someone, Trua, as someone who claims to hate drama coverage and things like that, I will remind people like this, there's a reason why I do things like this. Number one, it's interesting to me and it's interesting to the people watching this video. And it's also interesting to the people who may or may not be a part of your community because it's important to archive your public actions. I'm not, exposing anything that is not already public. I'm just archiving it in a neat little package. So if people want to know about the kind of character you have, they have it right here. And it's easily accessible, and that's the reason why we make videos like this. It's nothing shocking. You don't need to be a journalist to do this. It's something that archives public behavior of public people. But that's going to do it for this video. Please share all of your thoughts about this situation in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.